Hello. In this lesson, we're going to explore different types of creative thought. Ideation relies on thought. Ideas start out as thoughts in our mind, and we express those thoughts in various different ways. We express them verbally when we're reading, writing, visually when we're illustrating, and even musically when we're improvising on a musical instrument. Now, there are two types of thought that occur during ideation. Type 1, automatic associative thought, and type 2, controlled analytic thought. How exactly do these types of thought relate to creative thinking and ideation? In a previous video, we explored the Geneplore model. We delineated between two types of creative process: ideational process and experiential process. And we discussed how creative people develop ideas in two phases: a generative phase and an explorative phase. They generate ideas first, and then they explore them in separate moments or phases. In the generative phase, people come up with ideas. They make mental associations. They think in a more intuitive way. In the explorative phase, they work with their ideas, they develop them further, and they tend to think in a more logical way. In another previous video, we discussed my own conceptualization of ideation as working with ideas. Now, most people define ideation as just generating ideas, just coming up with them. However, in my view, generating is just the first step. That's the step in which we just produce or we come up with the raw materials. This is like preparing the batter for baking a cake. Now, once we've generated many ideas, then we can work with them. What does working with ideas look like? Working with ideas might involve sorting those ideas into categories or clusters. It might involve rating them on a scale of 1 to 5 in terms of how original they are, how useful they are, something as simple as how much we like those ideas. And then eventually what we want to do next is we want to methodically narrow down, right? It doesn't really do us much good to have like 30 ideas and then just kind of finish there, right? We want to narrow down because we want to be able to implement maybe 3 ideas or maybe just select one idea, right? To turn into a reality, to manifest. So, it's apparent that ideation involves a number of different steps, and each of these steps entails a distinct way of thinking, a distinct type of thought. So what ways of thinking, what types of thought are nascent to the different moments that happen during creativity and during creative ideation? Two prominent cognitive psychologists, Evans and Stanovich, in 2013 identified two different types of thinking, two types of thought. They identified a more associative type of thought and a more analytic or logical type of thought. Now, as you could see in these two boxes, the first type, type 1, is considered to be intuitive. It's considered to be fast and automatic. And the second type, type 2, is considered to be more logical. It's considered to happen in a slower way and is considered to be more controlled. Now, type 1 and type 2 processes interact in a dynamic way during creative thought, and varying types of creative thought, such as divergent thinking or creative insight, may entail varying degrees of the more associative type 1 or the more analytic type 2 thought. Some types of creative thought lean more or entirely towards type 1, and some more or entirely towards type 2. Now, given that creative thinkers dynamically shift between generative and explorative moments during ideation and idea development more broadly, and that distinct types of creative thought entail different degrees of type 1 and type 2 thinking, we can therefore infer that success in creativity entails dynamic exchanges or shifts between associative, more intuitive, and analytic, more logical thinking during generative and explorative phases of the creative process.